Greetings, Flyers fans. Now, for anybody who's been following me on Instagram and paying attention to my channel, I'm wearing a lot of Flyers gear lately. Why? Well, because I never had it. The only jersey I had until a few months ago was the black third jersey that became the regular jersey, you know, during the Legion of Doom days. Because I was never a big fan of this jersey, but it was one of the few I didn't have, so I got this one, and I got the Winter Classic. And I have a feeling that we're only a couple of years away from Philly being a genuine, real contender. I think there's a lot of things going on with the Flyers that are exciting, and I have no problem explaining that to you. So, I like Konechny a lot. Konechny, I believe, cousin of Bo Horvat. I don't understand, again, this is the Burry argument all over again, why the Canucks don't pick the guy, but that's fine. The argument is it's not a need that they had, so Konechny wasn't in their future. They win at the draft lottery. They pick up Nolan Patrick. Now, Patrick's hurt, and there's got to be fans somewhere going, oh, really? Operation again? So soon? Is he injury prone? Yeah. So they've got that going on. And then you've got other prospects like Lindblom. Sorry. Jordan Wheel showed signs last year of potentially being top 6, top 9. But he's projected for their fourth line here. We'll get into the lineup in a minute. Ghost. Ghost is the real deal. He's being paid as the real deal. Provorov, I believe, is going to fight Ghost for minutes. I think there'll be numbers 1 and 2. I know McDonald was 2 last year. That's why he's over here. A lot of left-handed defensemen in Philly. I think Hag is going to be in the conversation this year. See, it's different than... I had a discussion about Philly last month, and people said, why aren't you putting Hag in the lineup? Now I am. Now that I'm looking at depth charts, yeah, now I am. And I have Morin in the lineup as well. And down here you have Sanheim. And I have Manning down here at number 7, and I'll explain that in a second. So let's start up front. I have Raffle playing with Giroux and Voracek. Really good first line. The key for the Flyers is while all these young guys are learning the ropes and figuring out what they're going to be, Claude Giroux has to be Claude Giroux. And what I mean by that is he has to be the abrasive, in-your-face, skilled forward who hurts you on the scoreboard and causes you to take dumb penalties. I haven't seen him in a while, not consistently. He needs that back. Jakub Voracek needs to stay consistent, score in the 70-point range. I know he had that, I believe it was 85 points he ended up with a couple years ago. That's a little high for him, but 70 points is good. And Raffle just needs to make sure that he fits in on that line and does his share. I have Konechny on the second line. As I said, I have him with Couturier and Simmons just because I think that'd be fun. I think Konechny eventually will be a center, but where do you put him as center on this team? You just don't. So Konechny, Couturier, and Simmons. I think Couturier has the potential to score more than he's shown thus far in the NHL, and I think that could show up this season. Absolutely. Third line, Yuri Laterra, brought over from St. Louis in the Braden Shen deal. Nolan Patrick, the Nolan Patrick draft pick allowed them to trade away Braden Shen, and Matt Reed. That's not a line that hurts you. It's not a star line by any means outside of Patrick, but as long as Patrick can stay healthy, they'll roll 3 lines, and their fourth line won't embarrass them. You have Wheel, Filppula, and Dale Weiss. And I've been a defender of Dale Weiss before. I'll defend him again if anybody says he's not a real NHLer. Weiss has a lot of heart. He plays really hard. And every now and then the puck starts going in for him. And it might lead people to think he's something that he's not, scoring-wise. But he's a good, solid fourth-line guy. So Philly has 4 solid lines. Lindblom, or Lindblom, I'm going to just butcher that, aren't I? Lawton And Liar. Lawton's been waiting his opportunity for a while. Is this the year? The potential's there. Is this the year? And Verona's down here just in case he's not ready. Verona's just a fill-in. Same with, I believe that's Colin McDonald there as well. For anybody who keeps score at home, I just finished a can of pop that I opened about an hour ago. So I've often had comments, you drink too much of that crap. I drink like 2 cans a day. Just for videos, basically. So I like their offense. But there has to be a but, doesn't there? I still see Philly finishing outside the playoffs this year. And I'm going to use the same comment for Philly that I used for Winnipeg in the West. This is the team that can make me look stupid. Philly has a history of bouncing back. Philly has a history of overachieving and underachieving, sometimes in the same season. Philly is the most, for my money anyways, the most unpredictable team in the league. They bottomed out. They got a top 3 pick. That was the year I believe they got Van Riemsdyk, and then they went right back up to the top of the division the year after. So Philly is a very unpredictable team throughout their history. This blue line is just as unpredictable. If the guys that I have parenthesed off are all capable of playing in the NHL this year, and if they can push Brandon Manning down to number 7, the Flyers may end up making me look like an idiot quickly. If Manning plays top 4 minutes at all, if he's relied upon for a key role, I'm not convinced that Manning. Gudas I'll give a bit more of leeway to because he's more veteran and I think he brings more to the lineup. Manning, to me, he's in the games I've watched, he has some good instincts, but I would much rather see a Morin playing in his place because a lot of Manning's instincts are borderline dirty hits, and he's got that side to his game that can really hurt you. So I wouldn't mind at all seeing him pushed out to 7th. And he may not. He may still be top 6, and I could be completely wrong. Manning could definitely slot into that third pairing with Gudas. And that would not be a fun pairing to play against. And Sanheim is sort of a wild card here. If Travis Sanheim comes into camp ready, he gets a spot. There's a lot to like with Philly's blue line. Philly's blue line is their future. Speaking of which, goaltending. So they add Elliott. You know, the one that was good in St. Louis, who was bad the first half of the year in Calgary, but then he was good the second half, and then in the playoffs they ended up pulling him for Johnson. Elliott's going to have some pressure in Philly. Philly goes through a lot of goaltenders. You know, Philly's been through quite a few goaltenders. I know there was a video I've been meaning to do for forever where I count up over the last 20 years which teams have used the most goaltenders, and I was going to make it a minimum of 10 games or more because I have a funny feeling that Philly would be near the top of the list. They used a lot of goalies, and Elliott's the latest. For me, I could see Stollers coming into preseason, playing really well in camp, and beating Neuwirth out for the backup job. And Neuwirth ending up going on waivers. Yarrow Halak-like. Stollers is really the wild card in net for Philly. He is the future for Philly. I'm not going to use that goalie of the future phrase because it's a jinx. Brings goalies down quickly. But Stollers, if he can play, if Elliott's playing 50 games and Stollers plays 30 and plays well, Philly beats that prediction. If Neuwirth is the backup and he gets 30 games, and if he plays anything like he did last year, this might be generous. And I don't like to say that because Philly had a 10-game winning streak last year. During that 10-game winning streak, they showed swagger. They showed confidence. They showed a solid team game. and they looked good. The Flyers were so much fun to watch during that winning streak, and watching them before the winning streak or after the winning streak was frustrating because you know that this team is capable of more. The Flyers are absolutely capable of hanging with the Rangers and Pittsburgh to some extent because they have a huge rivalry with the Penguins. But right now that rivalry isn't quite as hot because Philly hasn't been relevant to the playoff picture for a bit here. They get back into that playoff hunt, those games between them and Pittsburgh become bloodbaths again. And yet I look and I say, okay, Weiss can fight, Simmons can fight, Manning if he's in the lineup, Gudas, yeah, okay. All right, bloodbath, I'll stick with that. Because I knew Pittsburgh had kind of, added some toughness. But I was like, does Philly still have that? Because there's so much young talent here. There's so much potentially top-end talent. And you don't want to get ahead of yourself. Like, you look at a Provorov, and it's easy to get ahead of yourself and say, this kid's going to be a star. It's easy to look at Ghost and say, well, he had kind of an off-season compared to the year before, so Season 3 should be a huge bounce back, and he should be great. I don't want to do that here, because then I'm throwing in some conjecture that I'm not comfortable throwing in. Because defense is tough. Ask Michael Del Zotto. He was going to bounce back too. And every now and then he'd bounce back, and then he'd go right back again. So Ghost should definitely bounce back and should be the #1 defenseman. Provorov, technically, right now, if you look at most depth charts, Provorov is listed as the #1 guy. And why not? He has all of the potential in the world. Open. Thank you. It's hot today. So, fans and pop. I think for them to succeed, this line has to be a really solid first line. This line has to be able to hurt them. And this one has to be able to play at both ends of the ice, as well as chip in offensively. In the NHL now, if you don't have that depth of scoring, you're going nowhere. And Philly has that potential, but there's guys who have to have bounce back years. I don't think they're really going to miss Schenn either. If Patrick is what he's projected to be, they're not going to miss Patrick. They're not. They're going to miss Patrick if he gets hurt. They're not going to miss Schenn. Braden Schenn, I like Braden Schenn on some level, and yet I think he's mildly overrated, and I think he makes a lot of plays that leave you scratching your head after. And he's never quite become what he was supposed to be when the Hockey News had him rated as the #1 prospect outside of the NHL. That was when he was a Kings prospect. And he was going to be the next big two-way forward, projected to be like a Ryan Kessler type, with more scoring upside. This is the problem. When you're predicting kids, and there's a lot of kids here, it's really, really easy to get it wrong. That could be wrong. 6th place could be wrong. I have them 11th in the East. If I think about it, yeah, I'd have them behind Boston and Montreal. But honestly, this team could very well beat Boston and finish ahead of them. And Montreal has the advantage in net. I think it's a saw-off here. It really depends on that defense. Can the kids continue to progress? As I said at the start of this, 2 years from now, the Philadelphia Flyers are going to be one very exciting team to watch. Could very well be Stanley Cup contenders, and we could be talking about how many cups this blue line could potentially win. But right now, there's just too much unknown for my liking. So, you guys can let me know what you think, and you will, because you do. And I want to say as well, there's a lot more comments on the channel now than there used to be, so I read the comments, I answer when I can. There's not a lot of time during my day to do so. for people who don't know, I have a full-time job. That's why my videos are posted in the afternoon. They'd be posted in the morning all the time, if not for that pesky full-time job I got to deal with. But I do read comments, and I do pay attention. That's why I mentioned the Hag thing. Hag's in my lineup, because I noticed a lot of Flyers fans saying, where's Hag? He's there. He's absolutely there. So hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, especially if you're a Flyers fan. Because while I may not be a fan of the team necessarily, I have to say, for jerseys, they do really, really well. They're really kind of sharp, and they're fun, and they're different. So this team could be fun and different too. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.